First, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity and am certainly willing to do anything I can to get out more information uh, to people who don't have as much background on trying to get their athletes to a college program and what colleges tend to be looking for. And of course, this is my personal experience and opinion. Not everybody does things the way that I do them. But I've had a lot of years of experience, as you can see by looking at the camera. Uh, I've coached high school, I've coached and owned several clubs, and been at several universities, both on the men's side and the women's side. So I've been doing this quite a while. It's an advantage definitely to Greenville because I have a lot of friends all over the country, and they've come through and helped us quite a bit. There were some things that Jessica had sent me that she thought would be very important items for coaches to know. One of them has to do with understanding the difference between the divisions in the NCAA, Division 1, 2, and 3. In reality, schools pick what division they are going to be in based on how much money they want to put into football and basketball. Because for the most part, they don't care about anything else. That is their priority. That's been a nice change with Greenville because that's not the way it is here. Our female president doesn't treat the football program any differently than anybody else, and in fact, really wants gymnastics to be the showcase sport for the university. Highly unusual. And a lot of that is because who we already have scheduled. Greenville is a Division III school, which means we don't give athletic scholarships, but gymnasts tend to be very bright. And so every one of the girls on this first year's team has at least a half scholarship academically, and some have more. Also, it's always been nice to be coaching college women's gymnastics because of the academics. I don't have the problems that some sports do. I think in the 18 years I was the head coach at Southeast Missouri, I lost one kid to academics. And that's not because she couldn't handle the academics. She couldn't handle the freedom because college is not high school. It's also quite a bit different than the club programs. It's a whole lot more fun, much more of a team atmosphere, and anybody who gets a chance to do college gymnastics, it's an opportunity they don't want to miss. Well, I went up to Springfield to watch the AAU meet and really enjoyed. There were a lot of good kids there. I think a lot of colleges may be missing the boat. So I'm more than happy to be in on the ground level of working with AAU any way I can to help promote the whole program. I certainly have been familiar with the AAU program, even though my main background has been centered on NCAA and the US JO program. The biggest difference that I see right away is there are just more higher level kids in the JO program, probably because there are most likely a whole lot more kids overall in USAG program than AAU. But that's off the top of my head. I'm not 100% sure of that. I know there are a lot of kids in the AAU program. One of the things that Jessica and I talked about is putting together a potential high performance camp in the summer just for AAU club kids. And I think that's something that could develop into a real nice opportunity and a way to promote AAU clubs because you don't have to be coming out of a USA program in order to pick up some interest in the college level. Now, we're doing things a little differently at Greenville than most of the other D3 teams in the country. And part of that is because of my background is mostly D1. I don't care about win-loss. Win-loss record in college means nothing. You can lose every meet all year long and qualify for the national championship. So I want to build the program here the same way that I did at Southeast Missouri, was meet the best teams we could possibly meet.
The question was, how many years does a gymnast need to be at level 10 before they get recruited?
As far as I'm concerned, none. I don't make a real big distinction between 9s, 10s, because one club's 10s or another club's 8s. I'm more interested in what skills they're doing than what their classification. In fact, this year I recruited an XL Diamond from Seattle, and she is a good kid. She is certainly doing level 10 skills. I think she'll make multiple events for us. And when I first saw her, I looked at the skill, and then when I looked at her information sheet and she listed herself as an XL Diamond, I thought, wow, okay. But then I know a number of clubs, including the club that I was coaching at before I came here, use the XL Diamond route rather than the JO route, because the kids can actually do skills that they're capable of doing in Diamond, and they're not allowed to in the JO program in the same way. So that's not a big deal to me one way or another. I'm more interested in what skills they're doing, what their grades are like.
I'll hit on some like the major skills that you look for.
Oh, triple backs, quad twisters, things like that.
Yeah,
That's what I look for, but I never see that. My main recruiting this year was on vaulting and bars to start with. I think beam is the easiest event. It's a mindset. It's not the skills that they're doing. If they did their tumbling on floor that they do on beam, people would say, you know, what's this level 5 doing here? It's a mindset, it's repetition, and it's technique when it comes to beam. So I was really looking for your Chenko fulls, your Chenko halves, your Chenko full-on back off, which is a 10-0 vault. It's higher level than your Chenko full. It's also a number of girls who are working your Chenko 1.5s, but to me, it's worth a 0.5 more to do that vault. And is it really worth a 0.5 for that front landing that increases the danger? Not to me, it's not. Execution on everything. Bars, hitting handstands. Every time you do a trick, in and out, you need to be doing handstands. Looking for the big, at least one D-level release, or kids that I think are right there. They're ready to do it, and I'm just not seeing it yet. Having gone through the D1 program at Southeast, when I first went there, it was D2 about half the time, then half the time we moved to D1. Teaching skills wasn't anything that we didn't do on a regular basis. There are some schools, quite a few schools, that they want to recruit the girls that can already do the skills, and then they pick out leotards for them to wear. And they really don't learn anything. Some of them don't have to learn anything because our programs are so good across the country. They're coming in with great skills, especially the upper level D1, because there are D1 teams and then there are real D1 teams. Teams like Florida and Utah and UCLA, Utah, the ones you see all the time. A lot of that is because of big money and what they have backing them. And so they are now recruiting our national team and Olympic team and elites. That never used to happen. You never used to see our national team or Olympic team members on any college team until a few started doing it. And then they found out how much more fun college gymnastics is than the elite program, for sure. I've always also been in the mindset of I want them to keep learning things to make it fun and not keep doing the same skills that they've been doing for the last couple of years for the next 4 years. That's kind of boring to me.
How do you recruit the gymnasts now? Do you look on like Instagram? Do you look on YouTube? How are you finding the kids?
Yeah, all of those things. Most of my recruiting, luckily, I recruited a kid out of Tennessee who's like the Energizer bunny rabbit. And she is go, 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 anything she can do. She's contacted leotard companies and gotten 2 competitive leotards for donated to our team. And I think 3 or 4 sleeveless leotards. And she's always on social media contacting girls that and telling them, hey, contact Greenville University. We'd love to have you, that type of thing. So I get a lot of contacts because of Madison. And the rest, I look a lot on Instagram, YouTube, and then word of mouth too, because I get recommendations from other teams. I've got a lot of friends and no, they're full. They can't use this kid. Nice kid. Check out Hopkins program at Greenville. So word of mouth is important. And kids that I've recruited in the past or talked to in the past that went somewhere else, but the teammate coming up a year or so behind them is contacting me because they really liked everything they saw about Greenville and got an offer to go to Penn State. Well, duh, you get a chance to go to Penn State, you go to Penn State. So that doesn't bother me. I don't expect every kid that I talk to end up at Greenville. I don't think we can handle them all, which does bring me to another thing that I'm trying to do and that's at a JV program. Our goal here with both our men and women's teams we started with a goal of at least 12 the first year and up to 20 the second. The men's team ended up with 16 the first year and the women's team with 14. So we'll be recruiting up to 20 for next year. And I've got a couple of kids already committed, and I know that Zach on the men's side already has some of the guys committed for next year. But I'm so tired of turning down nice kids with good skills. They just don't have that trick or two that they need for who we want to compete against. And a JV team's a perfect answer to me. We've got the facility, we've got the equipment. We don't need any of that. We need a coach and a operating budget. That's nowhere near the amount of money that the university spent on putting this program together. So it just makes sense. And they practice in the evening instead of in the afternoon. We can do it and we will do it. It's not a question of whether we're going to add a JV team. It's when.
Help me debunk the myth that you must be a USAG gymnast to be recruited to an NCAA school.
I don't know where that myth came from. It's never been something that I really ever heard. It might be coming from AAU clubs. I don't understand. It might be coming from some USA clubs who are competing against you for kids. You don't want to go there. You'll never get recruited to college because that's just an AAU program. That kind of stuff goes on, but
even though you're a D3 school, that you don't intend on just competing against D3 schools.
We only have one D3 school on our first year schedule. We open up with Ohio State, Kentucky, and Arizona. And then we've got Southeast Missouri and Illinois State coming here, D1, and other D1 schools don't come in other sports, which makes us a big plus as far as the university administration. They're going to be bringing in teams that just never come to Greenville at the D1 level. And we're going to be doing that all the time with sports. And we're also trying to support the others. The only D3 we have on our program is Simpson College, which was kind of our sister school that added men's and women's D3 at the same time that Greenville did. And we're going to go home and home with them every year to help each other, and also for our men and women to compete at the same time. Because the people at Greenville just love seeing a meet with both the men's team. It'll be a 10-ring circus. That'll be a lot of fun to have, and the president's real excited about that idea. Have a commitment already from Illinois. and they're about 2 hours away from us. But I already have commitments from other schools that we're not meeting this year that it's very exciting. The other schools that are stepping up and saying yes. When I called Meredith at Ohio State, it was kind of a, well, maybe, and explained the situation. She said, sure. And so we're opening at Ohio State. That is big time for Greenville University. Great opportunity. I have some other good friends. Shannon at Mizzou is a good friend of mine. I've known him for years, and KJ at Oklahoma. The nice thing about those two schools is they televise all their meets. So for our administration to think a team from Greenville University is going to be on national TV is just massive for the kind of what they're willing to do to support the team. They're already talking about adding on to our building. And it's nice the way it is, but they're talking about adding a whole addition onto it to increase things even more.
When do you start actively reaching out to clubs and athletes? Is that kind of a year-round thing? What time of year do they sign on?
It's pretty much a year-round thing. Looking at the 2023 class, it is gigantic. I have about 130 kids on my list at this point who have already sent me their recruiting forms and videotapes. I've turned some of it over to assistants to start going through and categorizing and labeling kids. Now, I'm also realistic. We're not going to get a lot of them because their main interest is in getting a D1 scholarship. Well, of course, there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm looking for kids who are looking for a school like Greenville. It's a small Christian university, but it's not a cult. My wife was a little concerned I might burst into flames when I stepped on the campus, but that didn't happen. Where I thought it might be a little bit of a hindrance, it's really helped on some of the recruiting. I even have a kid, she's a level 10 out of Lincoln, Nebraska. She and her mother and her sister came down, who was a student at University of Nebraska. And she liked it so well, she committed. And her sister said, I'm transferring. So she transferred from the University of Nebraska here because they liked the atmosphere and everything that they found about Greenville. And the Christian side of it was important to them. So everything in my background was more in public school education where religion really wasn't a factor of any kind.
How does somebody find a recruitment form?
When I see a kid that I'm picking up off of Instagram, I just tell them, pull up Greenville University, look at the information. If you like what you see and we've got the major that you're interested in, go to athletics, go to women's gymnastics, and fill out our gymnastic recruiting form and send it to me. And then with that, it says to attach any videos because most of my recruiting, and really most schools do it the same way, even though some have massive budgets that they can fly all over the country visiting clubs and looking at kids. We don't. So most of my recruiting is done off videotape. And videotapes, I've gotten some that look like they were produced in Hollywood. They don't need to be spending a lot of time or money on a videotape. Just show the skills. Some of them get a little carried away showing me their full twisting double back off tumble track. I don't care to see tumble track. That's not realistic to me. I might even be able to do a trick off tumble track. At rod floor, okay, that's a little more realistic. That's close enough to a spring floor that you're getting in the real terms. I don't care if they make mistakes in them. I don't care if they fall on their dismounts or their landings. I'm not concerned about that. I want to see their skills, the techniques of the skills, and where I think they can go from where they are.
What time of year do you probably receive the most kind of recruitment forms?
I'm getting stuff that's 5 years out from kids. I'm getting stuff from kids that are in the 7th grade or they're level 7 gymnasts. Not a lot at that category of the level 7, but I'm getting all kinds of stuff. And that far out, I just don't have the ability to track them.
Right.
Track them that far. I'll put them on a list and we categorize them, and some of them constantly are updating me on videos, which does two things for me. It shows me where they're going, and it also shows me their interest in Greenville. Because while some kids are just pie in the sky type of thinking, they just moved to level 8. They can do a back handspring on the beam. They're ready for Utah. They're wondering why UCLA hasn't called to offer them a full ride scholarship. And some of that is coming from coaches who are unrealistic with the kids and giving them big pipe dreams that are unrealistic. So you're dealing with a lot of different things. I also get calls from parents, and I'm happy to talk to parents and coaches. I'd rather talk to coaches than parents because parents usually tend to be a little biased. Unfortunately, some coaches do too, but most coaches have also realized if they're lying to a college about this kid and what's happening, how wonderful they are and all of that, the college will never listen to them again. So have to be careful what coaches are saying to college, but most coaches are realistic. And they're down to earth and they're honest. And of course, they're trying to help their kids move on to college that want to go on to college. I also talk to judges. I know a lot of judges all over the place. I was a national rated judge. And so I get judges' opinions too, because for the 99% of the time, they're totally impartial and will also give me information about a particular club or the coaches from a particular club. So I just gather as much information as I can. I was really looking at a kid at Springfield who's excellent. Full twisting, double back on floor. She is very good all around. And then I saw 3, 4, 5 other kids on other events that I thought, wow, that's great. Yeah, I'd be interested in her. And a number of parents came up and talked to me and coaches after the meet too. But I think college coaches who are ignoring the AAU are stupid, and most college coaches aren't. So I just don't think that they know, and that's okay with me. I just assume, build a world around the AAU too, and let them get ignored by the other coaches. That's good.
Is there meets that these coaches should try to attend to have their kids seen, or do most coaches not spend the money to go to the meets?
I would say all of the upper level schools do a lot of that. Meets like at Metroplex, especially if there's also a college meet that's associated with it. And some directors of some of these meets have wised up to the fact that if you put a college meet on Saturday night for the kids coming in to be able to go and see upper level college gymnastics, it helps everybody. And it just creates more exposure, because then those college coaches, at least the teams that are in the meet and others, will be coming too, and also looking at the 9s and 10s that are there. Depends on the college what they're looking for. But yes, there is some of that. Do I base a lot of my recruiting on that? No, because I can't afford to. I've got a friend who runs the Mardi Gras meet in the St. Louis area. Well, St. Louis is 40 minutes away. You bet we'd be at that meet. In fact, I'll probably go over to that meet, as long as we're not somewhere else competing, to watch what's going on, because they bring in some good college teams and a lot of kids into the JO program that they have all set up for it.
What are the benefits to D3? Because when I saw you out on the floor after nationals, talking to the coaches, talking to the kids, being so accessible, when I know that there's blackout periods for your, D1 schools, list some of those kinds of things as the benefits to a D2 or 3 school.
Well, when I first started looking at this job, I was also looking at Brockport had opened up in New York. Eau Claire had opened up in Wisconsin. And my wife said, I know you'd like to get back into college coaching. I said, I would, but I am not interested in getting back into D1. It's a race of money. I said, D3, you can do good gymnastics and still have fun. And I'd say that's a big draw for an awful lot of kids because D3 is more relaxed. It's not the rat race. You don't have to be Simone Biles to be and being pushed that way anyway by your coaches. At least none of the D3 teams that I know. But the atmosphere is very similar. It's just fun to do college gymnastics. We have a whole water conditioning program where when I see the girls looking like they're getting beat up and tired, we stop the lifting, stop the aerobics, and go into the swimming pool for a condition. And it's not just swimming laps, and it's mostly done in the shallow end because you can wear them out without beating them up. I want them healthy. A lot of my success at Southeast, we beat all kinds of big names: Auburn, Kentucky, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Illinois, Iowa, Michigan State. We beat them all, not necessarily because we were a better program. We were healthy and we hit our routines. And we were good enough that when we were healthy and hit our routines, we scored very well. There are a lot of programs that they just beat their kids to death, more at the club system than at the college system. I know some club coaches that I've said, what are you doing to your kids? You're working 30, 36 hours a week, beating on them year round, year after year. No wonder your kids quit and go into cheerleading.